Welcome back to Chantel's Lupus journey. I know I've been away for quite some time. That's because I've been busy with a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of checkups, and it gets quite overwhelming and exhausting. But I've come back today with a new video that I will be talking about one of the toughest obstacles I've faced throughout this 33-year journey with lupus. The toughest obstacle for me that I've faced had to be August 31st of 2023, when I had no idea. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. July of 2023, I went to go and visit my mom and my uncle who reside in Montreal. And I remember I was cooking and cleaning at the same time, and I was telling my mom, my lower back, it's really painful. It was to the point like I told her I felt I was going to fall down. And she offered to help me, but I told her no, not to help me. I still pushed through. When I got back, I believe I got back, might have been ending of July of 2023, or later, had to be later. And I remember when I got back home, I was cleaning my room, and after cleaning my room, I didn't feel good. I felt weak. So for a few days, maybe the week of August 31st, I was feeling weak, didn't have an appetite, and I said to myself, okay, I'm experiencing a flare up. And I said I can treat myself at home. The morning of August 31st, my nieces came to see me. They knew I wasn't feeling well. They came to my room and they came to see me. And they said, oh, you're feeling better. And they gave me a hug before they went to school. Well, the younger one, because the older one, I believe she had a day off. And later that day, I think it was sometime in the afternoon or later morning. I don't remember, but I know it was August 31st. I remember calling my sister at work. Yes, I won't say that part, but I called her at work, and I told her I felt like my days were numbered. And I'm very grateful for her because she came home and she came to see what was wrong. And I just told her I can't move. I'm unable to move. I did tell her I was hungry and she gave me something to eat. But I think I took a bite and I couldn't eat. I was hungry, but I can't eat. And I had told her this requires an ambulance. I'm not able to get myself to the door, get into my chair, and go. An ambulance has to be called. And she told me to get dressed, and I did my best to get dressed, but I ended up, to what I remember, collapsing on my bed. Luckily, it was near my bed, collapsing on my bed. And I woke up to my sister saying my name like repeatedly, and she was on the phone with 911, and she was letting them know what was going on with me. And in no time, the paramedics were here, and my sister was trying to tell them what was going on with me, but the paramedic asked me to explain. I guess they want to see how much I knew, like how, if I was coherent enough to know what was going on. And I let them know, what I'm on, what I have. And I believe they gave me an oxygen mask. I think they took my blood pressure. There was a lot going on. There was about like 6 of them in my room. I think there was like a few in the hallway and 6 in my room. And 2 of them helped me to get to the stretcher. And they rushed me to the hospital. At this time, my brother-in-law, he was working from home, but I didn't know how he would react, so that's why I called my sister, and she came. So my brother-in-law was at home, my sister, my older niece, and the younger one was at school. And I ended up going to the hospital. And to what I remember, it seemed like the whole staff in the emergency was in one room with me, working on me. And to what I remember, my sister has stated that they ended up closing the emergency room because my case was so severe. Now, I might have passed out a few times because I don't remember getting a CT scan done or an ultrasound, but apparently those were done. And they saw that I had a hemorrhage cyst and I lost 2 liters of blood. And there was like a doctor working, trying to get an IV. My veins are, you can't find my veins. This is out of 33 years, can't find my veins to get blood work or anything. But this guy was on the right side of me trying to get a vein in my hand. And I was telling him, like, you're not going to get anything there. It's only by my forearm you'll get something. And then there was another surgeon on the left, a Nigerian surgeon who is a gynecologist, and he explained to me that they have to get all that blood out because I'm bleeding internally. And I remember letting him know, like, I don't do surgery because I have a blood disorder. But, in some cases it has to be done. And I told him, if I do surgery, you have to provide me by intravenous vitamin K because I'm on warfarin, and that's going to help me not bleed as much if there is more bleeding to come. And I guess he already knew that. And at this time, while the staff was working on me, I saw my sister in the hallway, and she came and she held my hand. And I remember asking the Nigerian surgeon, I would say his name, but I'll just keep it private. But I asked him, am I going to die? And he told me he can't tell me yet until he gets into the operating room. Now, I don't recall the other doctor getting the IV in my arm. They just took me in right away because the bleeding was, I guess it was still ongoing. By the way, the cyst was like the size of an orange, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I hemorrhaged because I cleaned my room, or maybe it happened when I was in Montreal. I don't know when it hemorrhaged, but it did. And I remember getting pushed to the operating room, and I have been operated before, but years ago, but I just don't remember how cold that operating table is. It's really cold. And I remember the other surgeon, no, he's not a surgeon, he's a doctor, or I don't know what he is. He's either a doctor or a surgeon, the one that was operating on my right arm to get a intravenous in. He was trying to give me, I don't know if it was some kind of, yeah, he was trying to put me to sleep, or, you know, for this surgery was going to happen. But I remember telling him, like, okay, no, something is coming up. And they ended up bringing up something. And then right after that, I had like some mask on. And then I think in a few minutes, I was just out. I remember seeing lights, and then I was out. Now, I don't know how long I was out for, but I do remember waking up, being pushed back in the hallway, going into a room, and my sister was waiting there for me. Now, I was happy because I was told that the surgery went well. The Nigerian surgeon told me it went well. So he practically saved my life. But my situation ended up being up and down because lupus came into play. And of course, my blood disorder came into play. Now, because I lost so much of blood, they gave me a blood transfusion. I believe they gave me that transfusion before I went into surgery, or during surgery, or maybe after. I don't remember. Everything is a little bit foggy. But I remember having that, and it ended up just coming out of my system because I have antibodies in my blood. Again, like I said, my situation was up and down. I was told I had a collapsed lung. I was in a lot of pain. It was like this unbearable pain. And I had like, throughout that whole time, I had to wear a high blood pressure machine around my arm, my left arm. I had a machine so that the nurses can see how my heart is doing. Can't remember the name of the machine, but there was a lot of wires. And I ended up having a central line over here so that they can give me medicine and draw blood. I also had, somebody ended up getting an intravenous in my right arm, by my forearm. And I had one over here too. And I ended up having, no, not yet, later on. But I was just a lot of wires. And to keep my body going, they didn't provide me food. I was getting food, like nutrition from an IV machine. But with that, they had to be very careful how much they gave me because it could affect my liver. So there was periods that they would provide that to me. Eventually, I think later that week, or the following week, earlier in the following week, I started doing physio, started giving me liquids, food, not again yet. My belly was extended, and they had to give me a NG tube. It's a tube that goes in your nose, down your throat, into your stomach, just to push down my belly. I forgot to tell you all one part is that during that operation, the surgeon let me know that um, my fallopian tubes and my ovaries, they were all tangled. Like I asked them how does that happen? They are unable to tell me, but I ended up losing my left ovary and my left fallopian tube. But apparently I can still have children. But after that experience with that pain, I think I'm good. I'm good. No, that pain was too much for me. But coming back to the nutrition, they didn't have me eat not until maybe the third week. I remember they were doing blood work for like the 2 weeks. Every day was blood work, like morning and night. I was glad for the central line, but again, not glad for it too because it was hard to sleep. You have to be careful how you move because, I mean, it was, how can I say? I guess it couldn't move because, they had it in a way like it was in there for whatever time. But I remember telling them because my blood work was not getting better, it was just getting worse. And I told them, well, I'm not eating. If you keep giving me liquids, it's not going to work. You have to give me, I need food. I need food. And this nutrition that you guys are giving me, it's in the IV, it doesn't work. I have to have actual food for my blood work to improve. So there was another surgeon that I was telling this to. I won't say his name, but me and him, we would go back and forth. But I was told by the staff there, like they said, like he said like I was funny, like it was a joke, or like because I was telling him what to do. Like he would try and tell me what he would do, but I would tell him like, nope, you listen to me. This is what we're gonna do. Let's start me with eating, and you will see a difference. So he actually listened. I told him to take out the NG tube. I don't need it. Let me eat. And then we will see how the results come. He agreed. So I think maybe 2 days later, or the following day, but in the evening, they took blood work. And it came back and my levels were improving. I saw him, I think 2 days later, he comes in the room. I look at him, he looks at me. He smiles, I smile. And I said, so, do you have something to say? And he just said, no, we will let you eat. So I said, yeah. That's what I said. If you let me eat, my results will improve. Now, something else happened. I think before eating, my kidney level was going down, and I had to get another transfusion. And I don't know which nurse it was, but when she went to see how I was doing, I think she ended up panicking. There was another nurse that came to the rescue, a male nurse. Now yes, the Nigerian doctor saved my life, but this nurse in particular, I have to say, he knew what he was doing. He came to the rescue and he told this nurse he's going to take over. And I saw that they were packing my things. I ended up being on a floor, but I had to go back to the emergency room, and I asked him what's happening. And he was straight up with me. He told me, your kidneys are failing, like everything is going down, like organs and everything. And I said, excuse me? And then I started crying. So they pushed me down to the emergency. And this nurse, he stayed after his shift and came before his shift, and he would tell the staff, no, she's my patient. Unfortunately, the NG tube had to be put back in, but he got a smaller tube. He knew, like I said, he knew what he's doing. And in 48 hours, this nurse, he nursed me back to health. I remember my sister calling me on video, and she was amazed to see me sitting up in a chair, looking better. No tube. So I end up going back on the floor. I mean, I was doing physio and stuff, and I remember they provided me with a walker. Yeah, I was too weak to walk because the pain was really intense. But then the physiotherapist that I had, he had let me know when I go back home, I'm to use a walker and then work back up to my canes. And I said to myself, I'm not going back home with a walker. So this particular physiotherapist, he's not from where I am. He ended up going back to where he came from. And I had another physiotherapist, and I said to this therapist, I want the canes. Let me try with the quad canes. So I think before lunchtime he would come. He brought the quad canes, and he would have a wheelchair pushing behind me and holding my gown at the same time. I said, no, don't hold on to me. You can have the chair behind me, but don't hold on to me. So he says, oh, I'm just afraid that you're going to fall. I said, I'm not going to fall. And I worked with my quad canes. Yes, I was still weak, but I worked with my quad canes until it was time for me to be discharged. So 3.5 weeks later, I was able to go home. I was very, very weak. I was still in pain, but I don't know how I came out of it. I think I just pushed myself. I remember come out in the next morning and saying to my sister, oh, like I was bending down and say, oh, so much pain. And she wanted to like cook the breakfast for me. I said, no, let me do it. It's just gonna take me time. And I built myself back up. I was doing physio at one point, but then I didn't like how they operated, and I just went back to the gym and started building back up then again. And that was, I have to say, that was the toughest obstacle for me. And I have to really thank, I don't know how much I can thank my sister and my brother-in-law for their support, because it was tough. It was a pain I don't want to ever experience again. Like, I can't explain how this pain was, but I just know I don't want to have children. I mean, not to sound selfish, but two, I don't want to have children also because I don't want to neglect the child or children. If I have to go to the hospital, I have to look at myself dealing with what I've got going on, like lupus, a thyroid disease, and a blood disorder, and rheumatoid arthritis. It'll be too much. Somebody is going to be neglected, and it won't be nice. So, but I thank my sister, my brother-in-law, my nieces. I mean, they would send me videos. We would do like videos in the evening time. I still have those videos saved. And I had a message from my niece, my older niece. I still have that saved. Asking when am I coming home. And I would tell her soon. So that was tough. It was tough because I'm always around them. And I said to myself, I'm just glad that I knew to call my sister and say, like, this is serious. I have to go to the hospital. So that's it. An experience that I will never forget. I will never forget the pain. And I will try not to be too long with videos now. Try to squeeze some time in and provide you guys with updates and videos and of how I'm going and doing. Until next time.